Welcome to the LDN radio show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elsiegood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. This show is sponsored by our members who made donations. We'd like to give them a very big thank you. We have to cover the monthly costs of the radio station's software, bandwidth, phone lines and phone calls to be able to continue with the radio show. And thank you for listening. Today my guest is Melissa from the United States, who uses LDN for Crohn's disease and anemia. Thank you for joining us, Melissa.
Hello.
Could you tell us when you started to notice that there was something wrong with you?
I noticed, probably about 5 years ago. It was after I came back from Iraq. So I did a tour of duty in Iraq. And I previously hadn't had any issues. And I had just been really tired. Nobody could really figure out what was wrong with me, and I was already on thyroid medication, so they knew it wasn't that. And I just kept going to doctor after doctor trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And then I finally saw a hematologist who diagnosed me with both the Crohn's and the anemia.
Right. Mm-hmm. So by the time you got diagnosed, what was your condition like?
My hemoglobin was down to 3, wow, which is just pretty much unheard of. But I was still functioning and working. My CRP, so, your inflammation markers, mine was 6.7, so it was very high. And I was just generally extremely tired all the time. So they did tons and tons of testing and finally figured out I was anemic from the Crohn's disease. Mm.
Did you have any bleeding? Is that what caused the anemia?
They say that I had the bleeding from the Crohn's, but because of where it was, they couldn't visualize it. Mm. So the bleeding was there, and it was just like a drippy faucet. Mm. And so it messed up kind of how my red blood cells were shaped, and so then in turn they couldn't hold on to the iron. So I had gone on weekly infusions of iron, and then I got referred to a gastroenterologist. And we tried all of, the general medications that they start out with. And, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I wasn't responding well. And my aunt, who has, you should check out this Facebook book group about LDN. It's very interesting. They've done some studies. You should look at all this stuff. So what I did was join the group, and I read all the studies and everything, and I took the paperwork and the studies to my doctor. So I was that patient, mm-hmm. And I showed him everything on how this is the medication I'd like to start, and he agreed right away.
Wow, you were lucky.
Right? Because I've heard, other people's battles, and I am the only one actually in my town that takes LDN at all. Mm-hmm. The low dose. So it's very interesting.
So if you could have said your quality of life on a score of 1 to 10 before you started LDN, 10 being the best, what would it have been at that time?
Probably about a 3.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it was terrible.
Pretty poor.
Yes.
So once you started LDN, did you notice any introductory side effects, or were you fine?
Um, let's see. When I very first started, I started at the 0.5 milligrams, and I got kind of lightheaded. And so I really slowly increased my dose. Every week I went up 0.5 milligrams. And then if I, felt any lightheadedness, I would go back a little. But now I am on, so it's been a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. And I have been on 4.5 milligrams for probably about a year and a half now. And I feel great at 4.5.
Okay. So can you describe how you feel now? How is the fatigue? How's the anemia and all your markers and everything?
Yeah. So, well, I'm back in school, so my stress and my diet is kind of poor right now. So my markers are a little bit more elevated, but the anemia is gone. That has completely resolved itself, which is huge. So my energy levels are back up to where they need to be. And, my Crohn's is under management, but I would say, I went from that 3 out of 10 years ago before the LDN, and now I'm probably at an 8 out of 10.
That's a big jump, isn't it? It's amazing.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely huge. I just had my checkup with my gastroenterologist a couple weeks ago, and he's happy with still prescribing me on the LDN, which is really nice.
So how are you managing with your studying? I know you said your diet probably isn't as it should be, but how are you coping? Do you feel you're on top of it, or is it a struggle sometimes?
It's a struggle sometimes I've also gone off of gluten, which has made a huge difference. And I think that just has more to do with the Crohn's. And I'm trying to be more thoughtful about what I do eat. That definitely makes a difference. I switched my LDN to taking that at night. And my body seems to agree more with that. And I know some people like it better in the day. My body just tends to like it better at night. You
were saying about gluten. What about dairy? Do you find dairy has any issues for you?
I know. Amazingly, and I'm so lucky because I love milk, dairy does not bother me at all, which I'm very happy about. I would be so sad.
And do you take a regime of vitamins and supplements?
I do. So I take just an over-the-counter probiotic, and that seems to help. And then I take a lot of other medications for other health problems. So I take a lot of medication just in general.
Well, 18 months on LDN, it is fantastic that you are where you are. How long did it take when you started to get to where you are now?
I would say the first month I didn't notice too much of a difference. I would say after about 4 months, I could tell I was starting to feel better. And at 6 months, I was definitely feeling a lot better.
And it takes a while, doesn't it, when something hasn't been working as it should do to kind of
heal itself.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
You can't expect it to reverse overnight, can you?
Right. And, a lot of reading on the forums, it's that fast-paced culture where we want what we want. We want everything to be fixed right away. And it's a lot of just waiting for your body to heal itself. I mean, I was at my wit's end before I started LDN. I was like, there has to be something wrong with me. I cannot be tired like this all the time and not feel well. And there has to be something besides these heavy-hitting drugs for my Crohn's. There has to be something else. So I was really grateful that my aunt had found this group on Facebook, and there was all this literature to back it up and actual studies. So I think, I'm really study-driven, so I needed to see the evidence and the proof. And I also think that's why my doctor let me start it, because I brought him all the things and showed him, there's not that many studies, but here's the ones, and I'd like to try this drug. And I was really surprised. He's like, all right, what dose would you like to start on, and when would you like to start it?
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, so I'm very, very lucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would you say to other people who have got Crohn's disease who might be a bit wary of starting LDN?
Oh, well, I would show them the studies, other people's testimonials, and not, not getting their expectations too high. Not every medicine or drug works for each person. The Asacol didn't work for me for my Crohn's. And there was a couple other ones that didn't work, and I didn't want to do the injections. It's worth a try. And for me, luckily, it's really cheap. So that's also a nice a benefit to it for me. I think it's a good alternative to all the other medications that did not work for me for my Crohn's disease, and this does seem to work.
Well, that's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Oh, no problem. No problem. The more I feel like the word gets out there, it's funny. I go to pick it up at the pharmacy, and I swear everybody looks at me like I'm, because they hear the word Naltrexone and they just associate it with, the old dinosaur of a drug that, people use for alcoholism or something else. Like, no, I'm just here to pick it up for my autoimmune disease. Thank you.
As I say, thank you.
The more awareness, yes, that we can spread, the better.
This show is sponsored by our members who made donations. We'd like to give them a very big thank you. We have to cover the monthly costs of the radio station's software, bandwidth, phone lines and phone calls to be able to continue with the radio show. And thank you for listening. Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.